Hello everyone. Welcome to the Why Thoughts podcast, where I speak to top tech professionals and also leaders to gain insights from their experiences and explore their perspectives on the ever evolving world of technology. And today, for this episode, I'm very happy and excited to have Hafiz. So, everyone, please meet Hafiz. He's currently the head of growth at Bank Islam Malaysia Berhad. Then Hafiz brings a wealth of experience and expertise to our conversation today. A little bit about him. Let me just share a little bit about him before he shares more about himself later. So a little bit about him. He started his career in telecommunications field. So he started his career as a system analyst in 2008, and then fast forward a few years later, he transitioned into data science. And in 2015, he held data scientist roles in a few companies. One is Axiata, a Malaysian multinational telecommunications conglomerate, and then later seek an employment marketplace. So thank you so much, Hafiz, for being here. Do you want to say hi?
Yep. Hi, Jaying. Thanks for inviting me to your podcast. I've seen a few episodes of yours, of the previous shows. It was good. It was emotional, so I hope like I'm able to also contribute to to your listeners. Hopefully, they can get benefit from what I'm about to share today.
So I mentioned okay, he had his some tenures in he had a tenure in Axiata and SIG, then and later he joined Bank Islam. Interestingly, as the first data hire at BU, which is a digital bank offering by Bank Islam, or is also dubbed as, I've checked their website. It says dubbed as Malaysia's friendliest bank. So I'm just curious, Hafiz, why Malaysia's friendliest bank? Like, just curious, how did that tagline came about?
Well, I think when we crafted up the bank, right, we wanted to be a bank that is close to our customers. We try to appeal to the risk target segment. Most of the banks, or the conventional ones, at least, it projects a more corporate image
Mm.
and a very formal attitude towards customers. So we come into the scene, to the digital banking scene, in an attempt to break that mold, to bring ourselves closer to our target segment, and to just to be saying, hey, we're a bank. Even though we're a bank, we
Mm.
can be a friendly bank. Treat us like how you would treat your personal friends. Be yourself when you're with a bank. Yeah, just be you.
Okay, that's a nice ending. Just view. Okay, so basically, you want to be more, you want to, in a way, be closer to your target segment, and then probably make them feel less intimidating, even though
Yeah.
it's a bank. So hence the tagline. Okay, interesting. All right. So but before we go into the bulk of the session, I think that the topic of today is more on, okay, what kind of tech jobs do you think will survive? Will survive in this AI era? I want the audience to get to know you a little more. So I think let's start off with some very introductory questions. So my first question to you is, could you describe the skills and experiences that facilitated your transition from a data scientist to the head of growth?
So joining Bank Islam itself is for me is an adventure. Because when I first got the offer, the selling point for me was that they wanted to start a bank within a bank, right?
Okay.
So it's sort of like a mini startup in a way.
Mm-hmm.
So circling back to your early questions, what are the milestones per se? So I've tried to create a startup back in around 2016, and
Okay.
it failed miserably. I wish I can share more, but our journey was really short, like less than 6 months. We got some funding, and then we had to
Mm.
return it back.
Mm.
But that whole ordeal taught me and a couple of my friends a lot about startups.
Mm.
Personally, for me, I learned about product market fit and how to like find the importance of finding the right distribution channels, the importance of culture within the startup, having the right org structure, and how to scale the company from zero to maybe one, and then
Mm.
and to 10. But these are all mostly theories, right? So when I got the offer to join a bank who wants to build another bank inside it, it was
Mm.
like, okay, this is probably the time for me to test whatever that I've read all this while, right? So combining that backstory with my existing skill set as a data scientist meant that I was in a good position to basically understand how to grow BU as a startup. We understood that we needed to take an incremental approach.
Mm.
So being a data scientist, you know that to understand something, to establish knowledge, you first do need to run experiments. So you start off with some hypothesis on how things should work in terms of maybe marketing, and then you
Mm-hmm.
run your experiments, jot down the results, document them, and then just double down on what works and keep iterating if you still have not found your method to market your product. So from there, the scale of our experiments grew larger, and later on, of course, like I was being asked to basically head our growth team, which essentially covers all of the entire marketing funnel from awareness all the way to retention. Yeah, that's about it.
Okay, so what about the skills that helped your transition? So like you were a data scientist for quite a while, I think a few years, and I see that you also contribute towards data science, the Medium publication. So I think
Mm.
you've gathered some experience in data science. Then, when you receive the offer to move to head of growth, I mean a head of growth role, I understand that head of growth. Okay, the majority of the skill sets is also data related, but any other skill sets that you needed to learn to go into transition into that role?
So in my previous roles, I think the ones that helped me a lot is an understanding of how to build a data platform, understanding how data should flow, and how from those data, being able to put it inside a warehouse and how those data can be made visible to our stakeholders. So
Mm,
being able to understand end to end allows me to channel those data from raw into insights that can be used to stakeholders. So that's, I guess, data engineering is
mm,
one of the things that I suppose any startups would be beneficial to have. So early on, probably machine learning is not something that you can use because
mm,
you're a startup, you don't have any data to begin with.
that's true.
Um, so data engineering and SQL and Python because you need it to be able to query data. You need to be able to create those pipelines. So those are essential. Some of the things that are new to me
Mm,
when I started was in Bank Islam is user research. Those
user.
are new skill sets that I had to pick up because when we look at insights, when we look at numbers, and there's a story behind those numbers, and you wouldn't be able to get to that story if you are not able to communicate to your customers because those are where the context is at.
True.
If you talk to your customers, you would then be able to figure out like that's why the numbers are like that. Else you would just be talking to your stakeholders. Our numbers increase, our number decreased, but why? You don't know. You unless you go to the ground, you interview a few folks, and you just ask them like why did you spend more this month? Why did you spend less? What stopped you from opening an account? Like why did you stop halfway? And then you get answers like I didn't have my IC back then. 20 ringgit is too much,
Mm,
right? So 20 ringgit just for context is our initial deposit when you want to open an account. So for some of them 20 ringgit is too much. So then once you have those contacts, that's where you can then create experiments to see whether if we change certain things, would the journey actually improve?
mm.
Mm. So again, is user research, the ability to interview people, those are the new skill sets that I picked up when I started. And then of course, design of experiments. I think previously I was not I didn't have much opportunity to basically really run experiments in its entirety and be able to have control over the design of it, aspect of it, and just walk through the entire cycle. So this is, I think, at Bank Islam at BU is basically where I first got the chance to actually experience end to end and being able to, of course, like iterate and run multiple experiments to see what works and what didn't.
Okay, interesting. So what I've
Mm.
gathered from your sharing, this short sharing is first thing is numbers are just numbers if you don't add the context and the story to it. Like, yeah, it
Yep.
goes up 20%. So what does that
Yeah,
mean? Like,
yeah.
yeah, right. So if you just share that, especially if you share it to the leadership team, they won't even have the context because they're not on touch with the ground to ground on the ground work. So if you just tell them it's just 20% up, but there's no context or story behind it, then it'll be meaningless. It won't move the needle in any way. So I
Yep.
guess interestingly, I guess that's where okay you mentioned you took up user research. How okay I have a question later for that user research. So you I'm guessing that you and really speak to them. Is it that how did you speak to them? Is it through surveys or you really went down to the ground to speak to them? Because I understand that for banks, yeah, you all would have like regular pop-ups in like events and stuff like that. Is that the way? I mean, was that how you spoke to them, or how did you speak to your customers at that point of time?
Um, s- so there are multiple methods of running user research,
Mm-hmm.
and it really depends on the problems that you're trying to solve.
Mm,
There are instances where we would try to validate the prototypes that we have,
mm,
like would these functions actually resonate? So then we just create mockups and just invite a few customers in. We built our app during PKP.
mm.
So of course, like
Okay.
we couldn't run like physical interviews. So mostly it was done remote. We managed to call a few like friends and families. Okay, so here's our prototype. So that's like usability testing. And then there's also like surveys. If you're familiar with a local startup called Base.ai,
Yep. Yep.
yep. So we use them a lot in the early days to validate some of our assumptions and get feedback from like the Malaysian population as a whole. So that's one. Then there's of course once the product is ready, let's hear what our customers have to say. So then like then we get in touch with some of them and then just have a series of questions that we ask them and get feedbacks on, like what can be improved.
Mm,
Just go through the journey. So like you present to them like tasks that needs to be completed. So
mm,
can you try opening an account using this app? And you just
mm.
watch them go through the
How you
journey.
watch that? Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think speaking to your customers is really important because through there you get to validate your assumptions because sometimes assumptions are just assumptions that
Yep.
you probably discuss about it a lot within your team, but we are not the actual like customers. So you really need to put it to test through your actual customers and then watch the behavior. I think that's where you really get a lot of interesting insights. Then I think your next thing that you mentioned is okay, you have done a lot of experiments. So I think this is also true. I agree that for startup, usually you would be required to start from with nothing and then but at the same time you will still be expected to provide the numbers and things like that, but you have nothing. So I think this is where, and at the same time you're expected to move fast, right? Break things and move fast. So I think experiments is always is part of the culture to always
Mhm.
stay experimental. So when you mention experiments, what kind of experiments did you run? Maybe it need not be for Bank Islam, but generally through your journey.
Mm, so let's get into a topic where I think you have some knowledge on paid ads. Right. So we experiment on the pixels that we
Mhm.
put up.
Right?
So uh, whether people resonate better if we use an animated picture or if we real life picture. So which one fares better?
Okay.
Title. So
Right.
those small stages. It's easy to run those kind of experiments on Facebook, on
Is
Google.
it? It is correct.
Think and from an app perspective, it's like changing the journeys by small tweaks. Sometimes you may want to have the button be present. Sometimes you may like
Mm, mm,
make it disappear altogether. See whether
mm,
that actually making things visible would it uh, lead to an easier journey from conversion rate perspective. So I mean those are the kind of things that we try to see if it improves the conversion rates or not.
Version, right? Okay, got it, got it,
Mm.
got it. Okay, I think that's a little bit about you, and then the skills that you have picked up, new, old, I mean like existing skills and also new skills as you transition into the head of growth, and then what were some of your like, what did you? I mean like what? How did you work with nothing? So like experiments were the
Mm.
key, and then stay experimental, right? Okay. Thanks for sharing that. I think let's move on to actually the main bulk of the session, which is the expected impact of AI on jobs. I think my first question to you on this is okay. Let's start with this. Do you use any AI tools yourself currently, and any go-to tools? I'm pretty sure you do. So yeah,
Yeah, Chat GPT is of
for
course
sure. All right.
of course it's a favorite. So if I don't get anything good from ChatGPT, then it goes over to Gemini.
Nice.
Usually ChatGPT never disappoints, so
Yep.
I'm sticking with that. Aside from that, Loom has been fun to use in terms of summarizing the recordings that
Ah.
we
Okay.
we
Loom. Yep.
we
Yep.
we do.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
But I think those are the two most tools that I use.
Okay. In terms of ChatGPT, what do you use it
Mm.
for? Like, is it for content or data analysis? Because I see that it's pretty good with analyzing data and then providing you the charts and stuff, which I think saves a lot of time. But what do you use it for?
Uh, summarization, summary, making summaries out of long context. So that has been helpful, especially when I think as the higher you go, uh, the more slides that you need to make.
Yeah,
Yep,
yeah,
right. So so you're nodding right there. So yeah, you're agreeing with me. So ChatGPT has been a lot of help in that department. If I have like a chart which I don't know how to create stories on, okay, ChatGPT give it a shot. See what storyline that you can make. But of course, like when it comes to things like that, there are still nuances that it doesn't are not able to capture. So there still to be some tweaks here and there.
Okay, so it will be in terms of giving you summaries for long form content, and then maybe once in a while you provide it with some data, and then you get it to provide you some stories so that it can facilitate sort of help you in the storytelling part when you need to present or things like that. So is it something like
Mm-hmm.
that?
Yep, yep.
Okay, so Loom. Then for Loom, it is actually a video recording platform, and then I think it's very useful in terms of how to say like recording. I think user journeys and things like that. I think it's very useful in that front, and then tutorials as well. Recording using Loom. So I think that's it's also an AI tool. If I'm is it an AI tool for Loom?
It's mostly a recording tool,
Mm-hmm.
but of course, when it captures the video, it's able to take the transcribe the transcription and
Yep.
then
Yep.
just like create summaries out of those transcriptions.
Okay.
So
Got it.
in that sense, it's a fast way to just basically give you the 5 key points from this recording. You can just write your reports a lot faster.
Yeah, yes. Can you imagine the time we can save from all of these tools? I imagine last time we need to actually read it. Now we can
Yeah,
just prompt it for summaries. To save a lot of
exactly.
time. Then do you use it for I don't know, like maybe the other departments? I mean, like other aspects of marketing, like the SEO sort of things that provide you keywords and things like that. Do you use it for that or not really?
Um, I don't think we've used it for to generate articles for SEO. Not
Yeah.
necessarily. We have used it for image generation,
Oh,
right? Marketing collaterals, like you wanna run your paid ads fast. But I think that's about it lah. Like
okay.
copywriting, I think it has its uses, like rephrasing certain things. Like you think you have an idea, but you don't know how to like write it proper. So
Right.
copywriting is one angle that we use it
Right.
for.
Okay. Then I think following up to that, can you any specific instances where all these AI tools has significantly changed job functions, say in your organization or the industry as a whole? Like with this AI tool, maybe with this person don't have to do this certain jobs anymore, things like that.
Well, I think if I were to say it has helped us reduce the number of headcounts, I'd probably be
Mm.
lying. Like we are in need of more headcounts.
Oh, Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're pretty lean in that sense. But of course, being a digital bank, right, there are traditional functions which have been taken over by AI. So
Right.
things like identifying the ID, eKYC process, right? So
Right.
now you don't really need to go to the bank and have your ID verified.
Okay.
And AI can do it, right?
True.
To a certain level of accuracy. Things like fraud detection. So those if an algorithm can run at the background and just monitor the transaction and see whether there's any suspicion of fraud activities or not. The fact that we're digital, of course, probably non-AI related, but we are now able to run 24/7 instead of the regular 9 to 5. So you see customers opening account at 3 a.m., like 4 a.m. Like so, you don't really have that in typical branches.
Oh,
So we're happy that being a digital bank helps customers open account at their own convenience whenever they want to. Skip the queues, just stay at home and then just open a bank account. That has been helpful in that sense. So not necessarily I, but of course, like making it digital helps a lot. But of course, there are certain functions that which we do not wish to make it into an AI just yet. Things like customer support,
please.
customer service. I think we believe that having a human touch point whenever like customer stuff concerns, there is value in that. I think our
Yeah,
customers love that as well.
that's true.
So that says that's probably gonna stay put for quite a while in the near future.
Okay. Any specific roles that you feel is that's not needed anymore in terms of like in the marketing or the data feel like because of AI or no, not really
I don't see that happening yet. I
yet.
mean, of course, there are candidates like graphic designs, right? You think that with how things have advanced so far with Mid Journeys and Simple Diffusion, you can just like type in stuff and you get the right image. But I don't think we're quite there yet.
No, not
Uh, Probably you would be able to cut things in half or like 30% reduce number of hours needed. You would still need the person, the graphic designers to put in that input. Same goes to copywriting and the rest. I think now what AI means to let's just focus on marketing, being able to produce at a faster rate, so you'll
yep,
be able to churn more output.
yep.
So you save up time, I guess, and with that, like not so much on reducing headcounts, but being more efficient about being more efficient and being able to produce more and having more time to think strategically uh,
Mm.
and just plan out your roadmap better.
Yeah, efficiency, and then at the same time, yeah, I think with AI it helps you to increase that turnaround time in terms of production. But I do agree that we are not there yet in terms of, let's say, for designer, we can totally disregard a human designer and we rely on AI and all those DALI and stuff like that because it's anyhow for like companies branding, there's still certain styles that we need to adhere to, which we can prompt it on ChatGPT, but the results is just not there yet. Okay, then I think moving on to our next section of the podcast, trends in hiring practices. So we have
Mhm.
spoken about the AI tools that we have that you currently use in your company and things like that. We've spoken about we probably do not need to displace roles yet, that many roles yet, because AI tools are more of an assistant for now. They cannot fully take over a certain role yet. So let's look at trends in hiring practices then. So I think you have seen that despite the tech layoffs in 2022 and 2023, the tech layoffs at that time, they are mostly linked to overhiring. Right? So it makes sense. Like in 2022, 2023, there were like a lot of overhires. Then, but we continue to actually see job cuts in 2024. Despite stronger company earnings, particularly in the US tech companies. I think this might be happening in part due to companies they're actually shifting their priorities to AI. So they are making use of AI tools more. So then they're making their teams more lean. So because of AI, then do you think with the introduction of AI tools within teams has actually led to a smaller or streamlined team structure? Yeah.
Well, going back to it, if we talk about team size, I think as per what we discussed earlier, it's just making teams much more efficient.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but of course, teams are becoming like you companies would then start to realize that you usually don't need that much excess fat. You can just be lean and be able to produce the same level of output. Yeah.
So then, following up to that, what are you expecting from your own team nowadays? Like with all these tools right now, are you expecting like?
Uh, there are a lot of avenues which can be explored for them to for us to work in a much more efficient manner. But I
Mm-hmm.
suppose the gap between that and where we are is the awareness, accuracy, I suppose. Like these expectations that like what we discussed earlier, graphic designers being able to sorry, maybe not graphic designers, just product marketers, just being able to type what they want, what sort of creatives that they want, and then a proper image will just come up. So, but then like we've also talked about, that sort of capability is not there yet, or the product marketer has to be savvy enough in prompt engineering to be able to produce the outputs
Yeah.
as per intended. The gap in so one thing is awareness, like just knowing that the capability is there, and then
Mm-hmm.
there's the gap of skills, whether
Mm-hmm.
the said person have the necessary skills to be able to produce the output as what he or she thinks. Unfortunately, of course, like acquiring those skills, it's probably out there somewhere, but it's just not that apparent. So there's a lot of guides on how to do stuff, but most of them are either like too premature or incomplete. It's all over the place. Things are not really structured yet. It's a still like rather hazy, I would say. So until we've got to a stage where there's a clear standards on like or clear guidelines or structured syllabus on how to produce things as intended, then it makes things a lot easier for product marketers to just to bridge that gap. And then only you could probably like, okay, maybe we don't need graphic designers anymore. We could just reassign them to work on products and not really be attached to marketing. But until we reach to that stage, then I reckon those headcounts are still needed, but just lesser number of hours.
All right, understand. Then, throughout this, would you say are there any? Would you say like there are new roles that are actually created from
Okay.
all this?
Okay. AI wise, I'm just gonna limit the discussion of AI towards LLM because I think that's what we are mostly talking about,
Right.
and that's essentially what's new. Like the traditional ML, like recommendation systems and whatnot, those are I would consider them like they're still ML, but I think for the purpose of discussion, I think we're talking about LLMs.
Yep. Right.
So LLMs, I think with the more research of LLMs within enterprises, I think two things comes to mind. One of which is regarding AI safety.
AI
Uh,
safety.
so so how do companies ensure that their AI or their LLMs,
Mm.
especially in a B2C environment
Mm-hmm.
where their LLMs would talk to the customers, how do they ensure that whatever that's been churned out is safe to be consumed, whether it's not going to jeopardize the company's branding and PR, or even just like directly offend customers in that
Mm-hmm.
sense. So what are the guardrails that needs to be in place, right?
Mm-hmm.
The second is with regards to AI reliability.
Reliability.
So whether the output is as expected and is reproducible. So like if I asked about like how to do X, right, I would expect the same answers if I asked it 50 times. So
Mm-hmm.
can I have that sense of guarantee from an LLM, knowing that whatever that's coming out is going to
Mm-hmm.
be coming out. I mean, there will be in terms of probabilities. Sometimes it will respond A, sometimes it will respond B, and that's probably like if it's a one-way you and a bot talking. So what about if for the more adventurous companies where they have multiple agents working with each other? So I find that to be it's it I guess it's been shown to produce a lot better results. Like it's able to solve a lot more complex problems. But at the same time, of course, there needs to be that person who monitors whether how does the LLM to come to that output, right? Of course, there are multiple steps that agent A talks to agent B, agent B to talks to agent C. The output from A to B, B to C now needs to be monitored as well, because then if you don't lock them in, then you have a hard time to troubleshoot the system if let's say at the end of the day it produces like garbage. So maintaining this whole pipeline and workflows, I think is something that the existing ML ops engineer hasn't really like thought about. It's
Okay.
probably like requires like a different sort of tooling that's needed. I think there's already a couple of tools out there that does this, but of course, only those who are like really knee deep in implementing LLM systems are aware. But if more enterprises are going to deploy this, and so I think this is like one of the roles that is going to be be needed in the future.
Okay. For
Mm.
this kind for the roles that you mentioned, then what kind of skills would be needed, or like the tools that you mentioned? What kind of skills or tools would be needed to succeed in this, or make this role happen?
Well, I mean, the guy needs to know coding, and the guy needs to
Okay.
know AI. When I say AI, I mean needs to be familiar with all of the LM tooling like LangChain and the latest. I mean, he needs to know what different embeddings supposed to represent. He needs to be familiar with the limitations of certain RAG frameworks.
Mm.
So I think the from a skill set perspective, it's pretty much established on like what does a person need to know. We just need more of them.
Okay. Then can all these skills be picked up like self-learn, or like on through online means, or it needs to be on the job kind of, like you need to have that certain domain to succeed, or
I think the industry has shown that, I mean, all of the existing LLM practitioners are self-learning these things, so it's not really taught at
That's true, that's
school,
true.
right? So so I think that it's something that you can pick up
Okay.
online.
Okay, so for those who are, like aspiring to go into tech, or like maybe just, yeah, go into tech, what should they like start picking up? I think AI would be okay. When you mention pick up AI, like what, maybe can we be more
As
specific? What kind of
Yeah,
AI?
like I think Python, I think
Of
that's a
course.
prerequisite, right? To a certain extent, SQL is important, and then understanding of certain frameworks, and certain libraries, like PyTorch. If you dive into LLMs, maybe LangChain, or if you're into multi-agent, then maybe Crew AI. There's AutoGen, there's MetaGPT. So it really depends on what sort of uh, use cases that you're trying to solve,
Hmm.
and then you just run from there.
Okay. Aside from this, also interested to know what kind of use cases that you have seen recently that caught your attention in terms of how AI is being integrated. So like any interesting use cases you have seen?
I know internally we're working on a service that's able to help our customers manage their savings better. So like just give me your spreadsheet. So sorry, like transactions,
Yep.
and let me tell you how to save on monthly basis. And
Mm,
if you don't have enough savings, then you might want to consider applying for a job within the BU app. Because
yeah,
so for BU have that gig feature. So
I
why
saw
don't
it. Yes, saw it. Yes, yes.
so why don't you also like maybe top up a bit using our gigs, or so we've tried to provide some certain recommendations for you to be able to meet your goal at the end of the day. Still work in progress, unfortunately, so I can't share any pictures.
Sure. Yep.
So I mean that's what we're trying to to
Mm,
to to come up with that kind of service. I think one of the more recent ones that I've seen with regards to LLMs and multi-agent is the ability to do research. I think research is one of the use cases that it sounds mundane, but it really saves you a lot of hours. Just the ability to scrap websites and then digest and then make analysis out of it and then just produce graphs. So I mean, let's just cut down like 6 hours of my time doing research to just get to that point.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I think those kind of tasks can really take up a lot of time, but I think now we can do it much faster, and then the turnaround time is much higher right now. So okay, anything else to add in that aspect, like use cases or skills wise? What about in terms
Uh,
of what about for
hmm.
marketers? Like what kind of skills that you look at in terms of like a modern marketer today? And what kind of skills do you think they require to succeed in any industry?
Can you rephrase that?
Okay, we went through a little bit about the skills needed for like for some of the new AI roles that you foresee. Then what
Mhm.
about for marketers specifically? Like any skill sets do you think we should have to succeed in the AI era? Yeah. Any specific it could be technical skills, could be soft skills. Yeah. Anything that you feel.
Um, uh, so uh, I think if we talk about marketing and if we talk about technology, and you put them together, I think you get MarTech.
Yep.
And I think MarTech is a big space, which I
Yep.
think only some marketers have a good understanding of how to use them. So I think the modern marketers need to have a good understanding of how to build that stack because an understanding of how things are interconnected between all of the systems can really mean a lot in terms of you as a marketer working efficiently. So I mean, take for example, if you run paid ads on Google and if you run paid ads on Facebook,
Yep.
of course, like the one way to just monitor both at the same time is to have them exist in a single third party platforms, right? And then if you are able to also put the SDK of that tool inside your app or your websites, then you have a better understanding of the entire flow from campaign all the way to the I don't know, maybe purchase inside the
Mm-hmm.
website. So that's probably something that the modern marketer needs to know. And of course, uh, there are the buying aspect of it, and then there's also the analysis aspect of it. So if you want to go a bit deeper, then I suppose we need to understand the customer journey
Right.
within the app itself. So not just think about how to bring people in, but how to keep people there in your ecosystem.
Retention. Okay.
Retention, right?
Yep. Okay.
So a lot of trainings, I guess, being familiar with the platforms, but that's the thing. There's too many of them. So if you keep if you can keep to a stack and have a strong fundamentals in at least like one stack end to end, I think that will help you a lot when you want to convert to other tools.
Yeah, I agree that there are a lot of tools out there, and there's more every single day. Like there's new one popping up every single day. So I guess my point of view is I agree that for a modern marketer, it's important to always be savvy with all these tools because how you use it and how well you understand them, how you use it can really determine how efficient you can be in your workflow. So that's one. And then at the same time, how these tools can, integrate with one another, the interoperability, and then can really help in making your work more efficient as well if you really understand the ecosystem. But at the same time, like you mentioned, there are a lot of tools. So, but I think for my point of view is tools are tools.
Mm,
What I can say is for anyone aspiring to go into tech or be a marketer or whatever, I think most of these things are tools which can be learned. Like you can
yeah,
always learn. You can always get better if you keep working on it. You keep trying to understand it. And I
definitely.
think with AI tools, it can help you to understand these tools even faster. Like anything you don't understand, maybe you can just throw a prompt to ChatGPT. Hey, how can I like install this, all these things? So it does. I mean, like it won't provide you the very accurate answer, but it helps you to provide you a framework. Hey, how these tools work. Sometimes you can even
Mm,
ask it very technical questions like, oh, how can I integrate this with this? Then it will provide you probably very basic kind of workflow. But sometimes it works. Sometimes it works. So
yeah.
all this will speed up your workflow already. So I think my point here is tools are tools. You can always learn it on the go. Well, I think with all these tools and everything, with AI tools, I think what's more important is the growth mindset. I think probably everyone has been saying that growth mindset. But I think what it really means is to always be open to learning. I think, when I say that, I think it is easier said than done, like to be open to learning, because like all these tools, sometimes a lot might feel, oh, I have to learn another new tool again.
Mhm.
It is very, it can sort of bog you down a little bit, but I think as long as you have the, the growth mindset to stay open to all these tools, like to embrace them and to keep learning, then I think you'll be fine wherever you go. I think you can handle pretty much any tools, because at the end of the day, those tools are tools. There's YouTube. We call it YouTube
Yep.
University, right? It's a free university. You can just go and learn. And then, like I think you mentioned, most of these AI experts, they also probably learn it online. Then it's all self-learn. So I think to let people, I just want to let people know that I think all these tools are really just tools. What's more important, I think, today in this era is the being resourceful, and then to keep learning, which is really easier said than done. It's very hard it's easy to say, but it's very hard to implement. So yeah, but then I mean, coming to this, any soft skill side that you want to add on, like you would wish then your new candidates would have things like that with all these AI tools.
Uh, Curiosity, I suppose. I guess if a candidate is not curious enough,
Hmm.
then then they wouldn't have the will to and the grit to just try things out. Uh, and then another is probably critical thinking. Critical
Mm-hmm.
thinking is a loaded word, of course.
Yep. Yep.
But uh, learning what to ask.
Hmm.
So the quality of your questions
Yes.
would dictate the answers that you get. So like what you said, ChatGPT is just a tool. So if you put in the wrong prompt or if you ask them the wrong questions, you wouldn't get to your destination anyway. So
Yep. Yep.
uh, so those are the sort of, I think, attributes that I would look in candidates. Their the way that they ask questions, like
Mm.
how do they dig deeper to
Mm.
understand the underlying reasons for certain things were happening. So I think when you talk about interviewing skills, uh, not this is like I'm not talking about uh, job interviews. I'm talking about user research interviews. So we talk about the five whys. So when we ask a person like, so why did you make that purchase? So the
Mm.
first there'll be like the first answer, and then you ask, so why did you do that? And then you go as you go deeper, you go deeper, then you realize that actually like the person make the purchase for the most mundane reasons, and which like totally unrelated to the first one. But it those are the fifth, like the deepest reason is probably the thing that you need to tackle in the first place. Is actually the pain point of the customers. Uh, but how you navigate those conversations, sometimes it really shows how persistent you are in trying to uncover the truth. So that's essentially what I'm trying to get at when I say I'm looking for the person's ability to ask the right questions.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting, very interesting sharing. So, okay, I think we have discussed about AI tools, and then what impact can it bring to the workplace? How can we
Mhm.
really use it efficiently? What kind of attributes do we look for in a candidate? Should we be hiring things like that? So I think I'm gonna be wrapping up. Maybe my last three questions. So my next question is, uh, I think pertaining job and skills outlook. So looking
Mhm.
at both Malaysia and the global stage, what kind of emerging industry trends do you foresee that will be
I,
upcoming, coming up?
specific to Malaysia, I think we have all heard this news about investments coming in, data centers being
Mm.
built.
Yep, yep, yep.
Pretty exciting time,
Mhm.
I suppose, for Malaysian tech scene. But so when we've got data centers, of course, then companies nationwide would be more open to put their data in the cloud. They don't have to worry about data sovereignty and whatnot anymore. No, there's no strong reasons for them not to put data on the cloud. So then it brings us to questions like, so who's going to be bringing those data to the cloud, right? So you need data engineers to do that, and you need people, you need platform engineers to set up the systems. You need DevOps to actually be maintaining it. So those are like that addresses the putting them up, maintaining over there. Then companies would of course would want to govern their data assets. If you put them there on the cloud, doesn't mean that it's being managed proper. Of course, the hope for all companies is to actually monetize their data assets, but to be able to do that, it needs to be properly needs to be clean. It needs to be at a certain level of quality. So data governance comes into the picture. There's a lot of tooling that's available nowadays. I think um, a number of startups are going into that scene. You've got Monte Carlo, you've got, I'm not sure now whether Monte Carlo does that, but I know DCube does data governance. I know Trail Data is doing it. So like Trail Data is uh, they're using Data Hub from LinkedIn as a base. I know Amansin's doing it. So number of data governance tools popping up in the scene. I'm excited to see like how companies in Malaysia are going to adopt. Of course, there are to the more bigger players like Informatica and more seasoned ones are also uh, playing in the space. But I'm also excited to see like these new modern stacks coming up to address the same problem. Then now that you've got data governance in there, of course, like if you're a public listed company, you would want to be assured that the data is safe and secured. Cybersecurity is one aspect, right?
Okay.
That needs to be looked into. Each cloud providers have their own ways of securing stuff. So I think that opens up opportunity for a lot of our machine intelligence to dive into cloud risk and security. And I guess with if if they were to also include AI into the mix, then probably they'll be able to work like if they in a more efficient manner. Like if they can do coding, then there's a lot of other like methods that they can use to be able to prevent fraud or, or gaps from ever occurring in the first place. So I think those are the three main areas that I think is going to emerge. I think maybe in the next few 5 years.
In 5
I
years.
get it goes without saying that LLMs is trendy. I think that's a global phenomenon, but specific to Malaysia, I think with the coming in with the
The FBI.
introduction with the influx of investments that's coming in, these three things are probably the things that's going to be prominent in
Oh,
in Malaysia.
okay. Got it. Got it. Okay. So my last two questions. Last one. Last second one.
Mhm.
So with all of that, are you still hopeful for the future of tech?
So the question, right? Like, what is there a reason to not to be hopeful in the first place?
Okay. Okay. Yep.
Uh, for me, I'm hopeful. I'm happy to see companies like Asam, Money Lion coming into the scene. Got I think recently there was DCube that was recently I think a few years ago, which was started in Malaysia as well.
Mm.
We've got a few companies from outside coming in and setting up shop, so that's good as well. I think that bodes well for Malaysian tech talent. More tech companies setting up shop means more jobs. More jobs mean more of Malaysians being able to partake and grow in the scene, and hopefully like if they are serious enough, maybe they could venture and start startups of their own. So I'm really hopeful in terms of that, because I think internet-based companies are one of those areas where the playing field is doesn't have that high of a barrier to enter. The level of entry is the same here as it is anywhere else. I think
Mm.
the only limiting things is in terms of uh, either funding or market size. But if you're an internet-based companies, your reach is everywhere. Maybe it's hard to do market research if your customer base is in Indonesia or Vietnam, but I think you could still make it work using Zoom or whatnot. So there's no strong limiting factor in terms of the physical boundaries that constrains Malaysia if your business is in the internet. So I'm hopeful. People say that electricity is cheap in Malaysia, right? So that's cheaper than some other countries. Yeah, I'm pretty hopeful in that sense.
All right. So my last question to you is, what can we expect from you in the next few months, or maybe the next year, or and how can our listeners reach out to you?
Um, on personal basis, I don't really have any personal projects to shout about. Just do my usual ranting on Twitter. I maintain an active presence mostly on Twitter and LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
For long form content, I maintain a blog on Medium. So I share whatever that I've learned from work and from the industry. I have an NGL link where I take on questions from random strangers in relation to data, career, and work.
Mm-hmm.
On the BU front, so we have recently released two new stuff. Right now, QR P2P is finally out, so now people can make transactions when they want to buy their favorite pisang goreng dekat pasar malam. So
Okay.
finally it's out.
Okay.
So we're glad about that. And then there's also a micro takaful product that covers personal accidents. So that's out as well. I think the proper launch is going to be sometime this week. Our plan is as low as 80 cents. You can buy it on for daily packages, weekly or monthly. So I'm hoping that this. I think when we were building this, our thoughts are with the gig workers and freelancers because of the random nature of when their income comes in. So,
That's true. That's
but
true.
yeah, but they still need to be protected. So that's hence why we came up with this. But yeah, so I think I'll share with you the link later. You can put it in show notes or something.
Sure, sure, sure. And then I see that you also do talks quite regularly in data meetups, right? Things like that.
Uh, uh,
You try, you try.
whenever invited, I suppose, and there's enough. There's an interesting topic to share. I don't try to make it regular.
Okay, okay, okay. I think that's all the time that we have for today. So I think managed to get Hafiz to share quite a number of very interesting nuggets. And then I think what I've learned more of, I think generally learned quite a lot. I think more on how do you function better in a startup when you have nothing. I think the key part to me was, okay, the experiments. I think experiments. I think this experimenting part should apply regardless whether you are in a startup or you're not, because I think this is where you can always first thing is, when you stay experimental, you won't stay bored. Then second thing is, you will always innovate and things like that. So, and it's also very uncomfortable to keep experimenting, but I think this is the way to, like, continue to do more things, and then and thrive in this very interesting world that we live in right now. So I think experimenting is always one to so that you can continue to stand out, and things like that. So yeah, thank you so much, Hafiz, for your time. I think it's almost an hour already. So appreciate all of your sharing today. Any advice or like final words for our listeners here, or things like that, to wrap up?
Um, do install Vue and open account with us if you have not already.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
so that's well, I'm here to go, so I need to be saying that. But on a more serious note, feel free to reach out and ask questions if you have any. I don't have any like personal message or anything like that. Yeah, just reach out if you have any questions.
Yep, sure. I will definitely link all of Hafiz's social links in the description box so that you can reach out accordingly. So yeah, I think that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for you for I mean like thank you so much to whoever's listening, and thank you so much, Hafiz, for sharing all of that, whatever all that you've shared today. So really really appreciate it. So I think thank you everyone, and then I'll see you in the next episode.